Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsockеtradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
All right, it is Coffee Ann on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us on this fine Wednesday morning. It's October 18th. This is Joe Callahan. Let's say hi to the Coffee Ann panel. There's Tim Draper right there from Navigant. Hi,
Good morning,
Tim.
Joe. Good morning, John. Melissa on the road. Good morning.
Hello there. And John Ward is here. Hi, John.
Good morning. Oh, good morning, Tim.
He's just swaying back and forth.
And then he went right by Melissa.
Melissa
She's
Smith
not
is
here quite yet.
on her way in, so we're going to move her segment to the second segment, so we won't
En route.
do her thing right now, but we will start things going. And John, you're on the front page of the call. So,
I did read that.
So just the whole thing with the Dignity Bus, and
Yes.
so you brought it up to the city council that things had to change for the zoning part of the whole
Because
thing.
I am technically the elder statesman of the council, they frequently will ask me to help them draft ordinances and resolutions. Because I have a library of drafts.
Of knowledge.
Documents
Still can't
from
get
the
over
past.
elder statesman.
And it was a little confusing. The zoning board was supposed to hear this issue of the Dignity Bus on some waivers of some rules, but the rules were very vague and not really related to the situation at hand. And I went through some of the zoning restrictions, and nothing quite fit that scenario. So
Yeah. So something new had to
as
come
I
up.
pointed out to Councilwoman Gonzalez, is the only people who can waive the burden of an ordinance is the council, because we passed the ordinances, so we can allow someone we can waive the ordinance for someone for some reason. Well, because of this particular situation being what it is, and she was heading out of town on vacation, so she asked me to work on something that would just clear us of having to deal with zoning for the Dignity Bus. And so I drafted something, and as to purpose and exemption from those, sent it over to the solicitor. He added the legalese stuff that was necessary for it. And all it really does is says, it's a city operation, basically, the Dignity Bus. So generally the city's not subject to zoning regulations anyway. And so unless it specifically says that the city's obligated to do that. And it was put before the council so it could move along, because the solicitor's still working on the contract, and the contract with Community Care Alliance to operate the bus, the hours, all of the specifications, insurances. And as I point out too, we've got to get some kind of indemnification from the diocese, because it's on a church property, to make sure we can't be held liable for something that may happen in that regard. So there's a lot of work left yet to do
Before it can be up and running.
Before it can be up and running, which will likely be sometime in November, I guess, or
It's
December.
getting colder at night, so yeah.
I know one of the men's shelter at the Harvest Community Church opens up November 1st, so there may be some demand in November that may have it. I'm trying to, but they got to get the contract approved by the council with Community Care Alliance, and so this was just to take a hurdle out of the way and avoid any delay, so to speak, because of maybe getting tripped up on zoning matters that really don't directly apply.
So you passed the legislation on Monday. Does it have to pass again?
It has to pass again, yes.
Okay.
It'll pass again at the next meeting, and I'm hopeful maybe they can have a contract to bring for us to
Do you get-
consider.
Do you get nervous that sets a precedent for somebody else who wants
No,
to do something like
Not
that?
at all, because it is a city-owned bus.
But I mean, if a church, for example, bought a bus and had
No, because it's not a city-owned bus.
Okay.
It's not a city operation.
but those people would then have to go through all the zoning hurdles.
They would
and
have to, yes, for non-conforming use for something. And the other point, one of the members of the zoning board shot me an email, and he said, yeah, okay, so you want to say it's exempt from zoning ordinances that don't exist pertaining to it. How's about we talk about writing a zoning ordinance to pertain to things such as that, as you say.
That's what I was just
if
thinking,
someone
yeah.
comes up with an idea to go get another bus and put it on another church property, should we have a zoning ordinance related to that? And I would say, yes, we should.
Yeah.
A couple of things come into play is if it's prohibited and needs zoning approval, with a special use permit, then you get the public having an opportunity to testify for or against. Neighbors, abutters get notifications, et cetera, and in the case of the council doing what we're doing, with both this and with the contract that'll come up, it will give an opportunity for the public to testify or object. We had a woman who came to the meeting and was concerned that she really didn't know about it until it was sitting in her backyard. And you're going to literally have homeless people just sort of walking up the street, climbing into the bus, only a few feet from her back porch.
Right.
No.
She's a little concerned about that.
Oh, okay.
So it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And it's something that should be addressed, and we should be protecting the neighbors from anybody who may do the inappropriate things.
Melissa Smith has arrived. Hello, Melissa.
The Queen has arrived.
No shortage of
Drama.
sorry. I know there's always something when I come here on Wednesday. I don't know if I need to change my day or what needs to, or change my family.
Oh, there we go.
Well, you can't
They
change
need
the
you to do
family.
that.
Actually, clearly you should change the
There's
family
always
because this is more important.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I share way too much on the air about family, and then I have
That's
zero
good.
commute to get here. Really, it's like 2 miles from campus, and there's always something.
We're moving your segment to the second
I
segment.
would
So.
have suggested a paraglider, but they've been given a bad name.
Yeah, I'm late.
I probably
You're
could have
right.
walked here. There was a
so
terrible accident
I'll
on
say
Great Road.
go for a one-man helicopter.
Oh my gosh, there's always
Those are fun.
usually, it's bus obstacles. And I did get a call from my daughter at 7:15. So I'm in this nice space that we talked about like a few weeks back. Like when your kids drive, then you suddenly get back a little freedom of your own. And this is day 2. She got her license on Monday. So this is day 2 of
Yay.
driving
Oh,
herself
yeah.
to school. So, I'm sort of in that space. Okay, goodbye at 7:00. And then I get my second cup of coffee. I can go get ready. My husband's away, like whatever. And then you get the call from the other kid, the passenger in the car, Mom. And I thought immediately something happened, but there was nothing. They
As all
were
parents
stuck in
do.
traffic. They're like, we're going to
Guess
be late for
what?
school. We want you to know we're being rerouted and we have no other way to go except for 146. So we got to backtrack on Great Road, which is always nuts this time of morning. So the mom anxiety in me was like, wait a minute. She's driven on the highway, does great, but this will be her first, right? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, my quiet morning just went down the gutter. The next thing you know, you're on speakerphone, you're talking her through, like just trying to keep the nerves low. It was really my youngest daughter that was stressed out. Like, is Allie going to know what to do? Like, just really,
She's sitting right there.
I hope she does.
and
good
I'm like, that's not
confidence.
helping anything. You
No.
need to shut up. So I thought by then, I put it in Waze from my house to come here thinking, okay, I'm not going to be going my normal way. Let's see which way it takes me. And it didn't show an accident. So I jumped on, started heading down Great Road, and sure enough, we still got rerouted.
Well,
and had
did
to turn
you
around
put
and
the
back.
accident in Waze? Because it's the only way it will know
I
that there's an
probably should have.
accident
I did
there.
not because I was fumbling my
So
breakfast.
all those
and
people
co-
behind you don't
Right.
know there's an accident
Right.
because you failed.
It's all
to
my
notify
fault.
them.
It's all you're saying.
It's all
No,
your
just for the
30
people
minutes
behind
later
you.
Well, the
from the
people in
time
front
it
of you, it's
happened,
all their fault,
no
too.
one else did it. And I thought it was such a shame because North Smithfield police weren't telling you to turn around. They put us down this little side dead end road.
That's good.
So you had to all turn around and there's cars parked on both sides of it. So you know what that's like.
Signal
You're trying
lanes.
to
Oh my god.
Sounds like a parade from Animal
It
House.
was and it was awful. And I normally have nothing but accolades for the North Smithfield Police Department, but I thought, what a miss. They should have just moved their car like one street up, and it would have indicated to people not to make the bend around Great Road. And anyways, whatever. I'm
She's
here
here.
a few minutes late, and I
That's all that
apologize.
matters. Okay.
You jumped right into like heavy stuff, though. I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
We figured we get
I
that
bring
out of
the
the way.
lightness, obviously.
I did want to ask John a
that's
question.
light stuff. You want heavy
I mean-
stuff.
I don't.
No, on the Dignity bus, is it Community Care Alliance that takes care of like washing the sheets and things like
Yes.
that, and
Yes, the
and
contract
taking care of the
with city
bathroom
will
that's
be
on
for
the
Community
bus?
Care Alliance will be to supervise the bus operationally when people are in it,
Yeah.
and to maintain the interior for it is livability
Mm-hmm.
for the clients who appear to
Well, that
use
answers
it.
your question then, Tim.
Well,
Who takes
well,
care
actually,
of
it almost doesn't.
Almost?
Because
Okay.
now, when I had my camper, you have a water tank, and then you have a gray water tank and a black water tank, and those tanks you empty once in a while, particularly the ones that are attached to the bathroom. So, is this attached to a septic system somewhere?
No.
So
I
it's
don't-
literally.
I don't believe it is.
So it's those tanks will have to
Because
be
there's,
empty.
There's no connection in the parking lot of Holy
Well, that's what I
Parish
mean.
For,
I was
for a connection to the
is an
city sewer
excellent
system.
question.
right. I figured that.
So I'm presuming that they'll have to include operational costs will include those tanks being cleaned
Right.
out. There is a bathroom, there is a shower inside
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it's a great idea,
as
and I
well
think
as
set
well
up
as,
correctly, it's a great idea.
bunks replacing the
Because
area where the seats
you can
are.
plug it in anywhere. It's
But the power, I
mostly.
believe the electricity will be coming from the church, yes.
And then the water can come from the church as well. It's just a
The
hose.
water
Hose.
can come from the church with a hose.
Right. But when it gets
white-
cold, that will be more and more challenging.
A white sanitary hose.
White sanitary hose. But when the winter comes, it will become more
That
challenging.
will be a challenge because you don't, I don't know how you provide water
The hose will freeze.
without warming the hose.
Right.
Because otherwise it'll turn into a block of ice and.
Wouldn't there
cause
be
more
a
problems.
heater of some sort?
On
Yes,
the
but
hose?
between the.
On the
between
bus.
Between the outside of the building where they hook up the hose
Yeah.
to the bus itself.
Oh, you're worried
will
about
be
water freezing in the
outside,
hose?
Yeah.
And it would freeze in the hose
Mm-hmm.
overnight, or if they're not running the water constantly, and you don't want to do that.
No, that
So-
runs up a bill.
So you'd have to probably get some kind of wrap that would have electricity.
Insulation?
Maybe heated wrap.
Low voltage electricity to
Yeah.
keep it warm,
Okay.
and that's not free
Lots.
either.
No, that isn't. Okay. Well, I'm glad to see those things are moving forward,
But it's moving.
and it's going to be operational hopefully soon.
So it hopefully will get 20 people out from under bridges and
Yep.
out of the woods. We hope.
Okay.
Unfortunately, homelessness is a much bigger problem,
Oh,
and more complex.
right.
than-
'Cause
than
I mentioned
one-
that to
than
Tim,
one bus will ever solve.
When on a really cold night, what happens when you're the 21st person? Sorry, bus is full.
I think the term is hunker down
Yeah.
on a
That's
really,
just
really
too bad.
cold night in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
They have tents. They go into.
Well, there's still the
This-
traditional shelter setup.
Well, they,
Yeah.
they do. There are shelters,
Yeah.
but there's only the hotel rooms, and then there's the men's shelter run by the Harvest Community Church, and then there's the homeless shelter on Sales Street, which is actually always occupied anyway, and usually by women with children. So you got the men's place, you got the place for families, or generally women with children, and now you'll have this bus, which is 20 beds. Yeah, there's a few more people under the bridge abutments than that around the city and in the woods. And I'm always fascinated as to the innovative places they find, because when the winter comes and all the leaves fall off the trees, as you drive through Dowling Village, you can see across from the Walmart, there's an encampment in the woods there too.
Now, John, has the city of Woonsocket been hit with migrants coming here from South America yet and taking up hotel space?
I have to tell you, I don't know that that's the case. I think in many cases, the migrants who come legally
Yeah.
into the country and end up migrating to places like Woonsocket, I think most of them are in Providence, quite frankly.
All right.
Providence's Hispanic population is the majority now of, I think, at least a vast majority of the school-age children in Providence. Is more than 50% of the students are English language learners that are Spanish speaking. That's where all the immigrants are, is in Providence. I don't know that there's that many of them that have filtered up to Woonsocket.
Because they've spread out in Massachusetts.
Many immigrants that I find come to the country, though, are the ones that go get jobs. They don't come here drug addicted. They don't come here dependent. They're able-bodied, and they tend to be the ones that are going to look for work and get it. And so they're renting. They're sharing space with family members that have been here before, or cousins, or things of that nature.
But you heard the story on the national news in New York City. They're going to start sleeping in the streets because they've run out of space.
Well, that they're running out of space. New York City has such a large number. I mean, if that big a number ever came to Woonsocket proportionally, yes, we'd have no place for them to go, because the apartments aren't really that affordable for the kinds of work that they could get, and that becomes a challenge. And as I say, that's why I'm pretty sure we probably don't have a lot of them who are homeless. Most of the homeless population tends to be temporary homeless or people with drug addiction issues, alcoholism, mental health issues. And I don't know if it's the right answer, but I spoke to it at the end of the meeting Monday. Some people advised me not to say anything because it's sort of like a third rail for a politician. But it's that the people who have drug and alcohol addictions need, from people who have gone through it, tell me they need a literal residential treatment center for them to be in. And many of them don't want to play by those rules. They don't see themselves getting out of their situation, and they're comfortable with their shot in the arm or the fingers or the whatever. But if they were to be placed, I would not think that a place for a residential treatment center is in the middle of a city where if they go out of the building for a few hours, they're immediately confronted with the challenge of there's the alcohol, there's the heroin,
right.
there's the fentanyl, there's the pills. You want them out in some isolated area that would keep them from having easy access to that kind of problem.
All right.
It's an overwhelming challenge, and I'm not
it
sure
is.
anyone's ever going to solve. Ask me about it again in 3 or 4 billion years.
All right,
sure
fine.
we'll have a solution.
We'll take a break on the Coffee and program. More coming your way. Stay tuned.
Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal real special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogi with onions and dirty sour cream, or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported goods. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to 6, Wednesdays 9 to 5, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Follow us on Facebook to learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street in Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
Hi, this is Yvette Houle. Holy Trinity Parish Christmas Bazaar and Craft Fair is Saturday, November 4th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Parish Hall, 1371 Park Avenue, which is handicap accessible. Come browse the many gifts, crafts, and much more. There will be gift certificate raffle, split the pot, theme baskets, baked goods, and special raffles. Visit Santa, give him your wish list, and take photos with the children. There will also be a children's craft area to keep the children busy while the parents shop. Kitchen will be open for lunch and will include the popular dynamites, meatball sandwiches, hamburgers, hot dogs, fries, onion rings, and Venus de Milo soup. For further information, contact me, Yvette Houle, at 766-5663.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
ON, AM, and FM.
It is Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Tim Draper and John Ward and Melissa Smith. And Melissa, we moved your segment, so it's time for your first message.
Oh, I thought I was going to the second half, so I'm
This is
staying in the first
second
half.
portion, second part. So this is your part now. So
Hello.
time for first message from the St.
Hello,
Antoine
friends.
communities.
So for those of you that don't know a lot about St. Antoine Community, we are a large long-term care campus located in North Smithfield and on the line of Blackstone, Mass. and Woonsocket. And on our property, we offer an expansive continuum of services that range from assisted living to short and long-term skill care. We have a state-of-the-art rehab center, a private hospice suite, as well as a large secured memory care unit. And the two buildings on our property are the Villa at St. Antoine, which is our 76-apartment assisted living facility, and the Residence at St. Antoine, which is our 180-bed short and long-term skilled care facility. So if you're presently at a crossroads with your loved one and trying to determine when is the right time to seek more help and support, I encourage you to reach out to me. You can call me at 401-767-3500 or email me at msmith@santantoine.net.
All right, Melissa, very good. Well, there was a fire in Woonsocket on Tuesday morning over at Flock Tex. That's on Founders Drive. Around 6:45, when the firefighters got there, they thought there might have been people trapped inside, but that was not the case. So that's good. Everyone did get out safe, but a lot of heavy damage to the equipment that was inside, and one firefighter was transported to the hospital with minor injuries.
Who's
So,
Founders in Woonsocket?
is that over by Patriots Diner?
Yes.
Okay.
It's over that way off Cumberland Hill Road.
All right.
It's on
Okay.
Cumberland Hill Road. It's,
Yep.
it's sort of a U shape, goes around back.
Right. There's a
Yeah.
Founders in Central Falls too. I know what that is, but
Yeah. But that was taken care of quickly yesterday by the Woonsocket Fire Department, and no word on what caused the fire yet, so that's still under investigation.
Yeah, I guess there was a big fire in Tiverton too overnight at a recycle at a
yeah.
car
This morning.
parts.
Car
Some,
lot of some sort.
Yeah, that looked-
I saw that.
not great.
Once those things get going, they're hard
They're
to
really
stop.
hard
Yeah.
to stop.
Now,
So keeping the
so
fire
John,
departments busy.
Speaking of Tiverton,
Tiverton.
put on your hat here for city council or your stuff that you did in Lincoln. The Tiverton Firefighters Union is suing the town.
I saw the article, read
Yeah.
it thoroughly, and
They don't agree with the social media policy.
Yeah, they don't. Well,
W-
there's a difference. If it's the social media page of the town of Tiverton, then the town government should have the right to control it. However, if the firefighters establish their own Facebook presence and Facebook page, then I don't think the town has any right to restrict their speech for what they post on their page. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I didn't see where it differentiated between whether it was the towns or the fire
Well-
departments or firefighters.
It just says it's stopping the firefighters from posting about staffing problems and safety issues, and the policy prohibits firefighters on duty and off duty from sharing, posting, transmitting, or otherwise disseminating any information related to their job without written permission from the fire chief first.
Well, again, it becomes a question of whether it's the town's site or if it's the
It sounds like it'd be
firefighters'.
their own site.
And Lincoln actually did have a situation like this where a firefighter was going around with a camera during active fires, taking pictures, and then posting them.
Of the fire that he was supposed to be putting out.
No, he was working on it, but it was like
Yeah.
a GoPro situation.
Oh, okay.
And he'd post pictures of what they were doing while they were working. The problem was in doing that, he was on somebody else's property.
see.
And now you're getting into the question of whether you're invasion of privacy, whether it's information that's supposed to be shared with the public. And there's all kinds of procedural questions in play. But if it is not on the town's website, it could be a free speech issue. But again, you get into a lot of different borders that you have to worry about with personal rights and personal property. And if you want to, pardon the expression, if you want to bitch about your governance and policies and procedures, then do it on your own individual personal website. Be like me.
Be like, what would John
Well, I
do?
would think that you can on your own personal
You
site.
could scour everything in the last 20 years, and never once did I post anything that was to discuss, make judgment about, or ask for alternatives to what the town of Lincoln did. Because that's where I worked. My job was to discuss issues with the council and with the town administrator. You make decisions about policy and procedures, and you simply follow them. And if I was dissatisfied, my recourse there was to discuss alternatives with them, not with the public. As opposed to being on council in Woonsocket, where I'm expected to have an opinion on issues, and I'm happy to share them. And I do it as a citizen of the state, because state government works for us. Well, not you. You live in Massachusetts. Our state government works for us, and I'm allowed to have an opinion about it, and I do have some strong opinions. I'm complimenting sometimes
They just
too.
use it as a tool and a tactic, right, to try to get the
I
city
think
to the
it's
table.
It may be
and
more about a union tactic than
Right.
anything else.
I think
and
so.
It's not very productive.
Well, because it used to be that you would have your negotiations behind closed doors until the parties agreed, and then you'd come out and vote on
Right.
it. Right
And
now, it seems like everybody wants to have their negotiations in public, so that they can show whose side seems to be the worse off than the other.
I think there's something to be said for whoever's running the fire department to go look at what's causing the firefighters to want to do these things.
Well, there's a staffing shortage. Obviously, they must be complaining about it
There's staffing shortage everywhere.
everywhere. I
Right.
know. I
It's
got
not
it.
like that. I'm sure it's not because Tiverton doesn't want new firefighters. It's probably because nobody's applying for the job.
Yeah.
Same thing with the police department. And same thing with almost every other job out there, it seems.
I don't know what the safety issues are down there with the Tiverton Fire Department. They
Well,
have
you
old
wanna
fire
have enough
trucks.
staff- manpower.
Low staffing is always considered a safety,
safety
issue
issue?
for them.
Right.
Okay.
So did
Because
I
it
miss
means
you?
they have to work extra hours and shifts, and they're tired, and it's difficult.
Did I miss you saying the premise of the video was reflecting that there's not enough staff there, that they couldn't get it under control because of equipment, or was it like sensationalizing, the job of a fireman? And did it say what the tone of the videos were?
Just they want to stop them from posting about staffing problems and safety.
So it was about probably lack of equipment and staff. Okay,
Look at
I
the
get
truck.
that.
Look at the hoses. Look at all this
Yeah,
bad
right.
stuff that's
Okay.
here.
We got flat
Yep.
tires and
Right.
things like that.
These are the 2 guys on duty for the whole city. You know
You
that.
know, the challenge of the government too is not just recruiting people, but if you look at salary increases for union positions in government, police, fire, municipal employees, and compare it to what has happened in private industry for short staffing and the fact that the salaries have had to jump pretty quickly and pretty high in order to be competitive and get people, and they end up getting people out of government. It's totally reversed what it always was in the past, where people that were struggling in private industry oftentimes went to the government. Now, because you had secure health care, cheaper health care, and yeah, your wage wasn't quite the same, but it wasn't that big a difference. Now it's, good Lord, private industry has just shot up well beyond government salaries, and there's a lot of people just leaving government now to go into private industry because it just can't keep up. And then you've got things, you know, I have had to deal with contracts that call for things to be purchased, and when doing budgets, and you get firefighters have turnout gear. Turnout gear is that big, heavy, bulky
The coat.
Coat, pants, boots,
the whole bit.
gloves.
And then you know they have a shelf life.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to be replaced every 4 or 5 years. Police officers have tasers. Tasers, excuse me, expire after 5 years. That you're supposed to replace them. I thought you'd just replace the battery. No,
The whole gun.
no, you got to get the whole gun. I mean, you don't have to. You can delay it, but everything comes with expiration dates that needs replacement, and it's expensive. And you're going to taxpayers and you're saying, they need more tasers. Oh, we just bought more tasers. No. That was like 7 years ago. We need more tasers to replace the ones we got. Why? How often do they use them? It's
Doesn't
not
matter.
Like it's not like it's a gun
Yeah.
where you use a gun never, and it's the same one you started with.
Yeah.
You just keep it clean. It's not how it works with those things. So, and now we're putting cameras on them. doing
They'll
all
need to be
kinds of
replaced,
things.
too.
And all of this stuff needs to be upgraded, replaced, software upgrades. And it's very expensive to run a government and sit on a council and sit there saying to people, oh yeah, you have to pay more. Because we need to make sure these people have up-to-date equipment, and if you don't, and you're short-staffed, you're compromising the safety of the people that are working for you. Not a comfortable position
Complicated.
to be in.
Complicated, right?
Yeah.
And the average Joe doesn't.
I don't know why anybody runs for office.
Tell us,
People
John.
are just crazy.
John, has Woonsocket ever run into a situation of what's going on in North Providence with that whole the town came in and condemned that
I
condos?
can't remember that happening.
It said
I'm
get
sure
out.
It may have,
I
but
have a question about that whole setup. So that building is individual condos. They're not apartments.
yes,
So people bought those condos,
yes.
but there's a management company for the
Yes.
building.
That
You
owns
have
the
to have-
building, yeah.
Somebody has to deal
Condo
with the
fees.
Right. So,
Somebody has to do the contracts for trash removal, snow removal.
but aren't they
Landscaping.
talking about the
There's
stuff that's
common
going on?
areas that have to be lit, heated. They have to pay the bills.
Right. But isn't this some of these problems inside the units themselves, the individual
Apparently,
units?
Yes.
some of them are.
So I'm like, but isn't that the person that bought the condo's responsibility to pay for that?
Usually, that was a condo.
I don't
owner.
know how much of it is coming from the basement. This was a flooding issue.
It was a burst pipe issue.
Okay.
So it could have been in a common area.
Well, if it's a common area.
But they also talked about missing ceiling tiles too, which was they said was a fire hazard.
It reads to me like the management company was aware of the problems and apparently wasn't taking care of fixing them.
Right. I think Charlie Lombardi yesterday said that he had gone in February to look at the building and was stunned at what he saw, and was going to give the building management company a little bit of time to fix it. But then when they went back to look at it, whenever this was a couple of days ago, they were like, no, everybody's got to leave.
This was like months ago
Yeah.
that this happened, and they had gone in and said, you need to fix it. And apparently when they went back in recently,
Nothing was
nothing
done.
had been done.
Right. So now they've evicted private homeowners from their homes.
Because the building's not structurally sound. It's a safety hazard.
Yeah, that's-
if
I
you
just-
don't take care
it's
of
a-
your home, the town can come to your house and condemn it,
And make you get out until it's fixed.
make you leave.
I thought they couldn't do
No,
that. I thought they had to
They
just.
can condemn a building that's not
You-
safe, whether somebody's a private owner or not. It's
Okay.
not. You're not taking it. You're simply condemning it from people to live in it.
Yeah.
So you're
It's
Until
uninhabitable.
such time
you're,
as it's
you're taking
corrected.
away a certificate of occupancy, essentially.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
revoking
That's
a
what
CO.
Basically, you're revoking,
You're revoking
a
a
CO.
CO. Okay, I got it.
All right, more of this coming up. We got a note to get to as well, but Melissa, it's time for your second message from the St. Antoine communities, please.
So we were talking a little bit at the beginning about Community Care Alliance and all the amazing work that they do. And for the month of October, so we only have another week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We are collecting socks to help benefit the homeless in the city of Woonsocket and donating those socks that you graciously give to us to Community Care Alliance. So if you are in the area of St. Antoine Community, we have 2 addresses, but they really connect on our property. 10 Rhodes Ave or 400 Menden Road, so either the Villa or St. Antoine residents. We have bins set up in the lobby. We also have them at the Park Square location for Navigant Credit Union. Any one of those 3 locations, for the next 2 weeks, drop off your socks. New, please, in packaging, not off your body, would be greatly appreciated. If you need more information about this, you can reach me at 401-767-3500. Thank you.
The socks off my feet.
But I found these in the back of the drawer. I haven't worn them in a while.
Everyone thinks they're so funny.
No,
This
I
has
know.
been my ongoing pitch wherever I go, and everyone's like, I've got some on me right now. No, I don't want
No, I
those.
don't want those.
I want you to go to the store and pick up some new ones. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Time for a look at the forecast, being brought to you by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Today, partly sunny, although there is a slight chance of some showers this afternoon. High temperature will be near 63, south wind 5 to 7 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, low temperature around 45 with a light south wind. Thursday's weather, mostly sunny, high near 65. Thursday night, mostly cloudy, low around 50. Friday, mostly cloudy with a 50% chance of showers, high near 65. Saturday, mostly cloudy with a 70% of showers likely and a high near 63. Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street under mostly cloudy skies, we have 52 degrees. For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
When you visit the Menard Locature Funeral Home's website, you'll find a wealth of important information, including frequently asked questions about the various options of pre-planning funeral etiquette, visitation, personal help to help the family, and many others. Remember, pre-planning is safe and helpful to family members who may be overwhelmed with details and responsibilities. It also assures that the deceased's final wishes are met. Their website will also feature several photos of their 2 beautiful and classic funeral homes at 127 Carrington Avenue, Woonsocket, and 71 Central Street, Manville. You'll be treated with courtesy and understanding. Their main phone number is 762-1825. Menard Locature Funeral Homes.
Hey, it's ON Radio's Cruz and Bruce Palmer inviting you to join me for the Saturday Block Party. It's every Saturday from 4 until 7 p.m. when we fill the airwaves with the songs you want to hear. It's a party in every sense of the word, so join me live on 99.5 and 1240 a.m. or bring the show with you wherever you go at onworldwide.com.
It is Coffee and an ON. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here, along with John Ward, Melissa Smith, and Tim Draper. And Tim, time for your first message from Navigant Credit Union.
Well, I just want to, again, our constant reminder to our folks out there who fall subject to fraud and to scams, unfortunately, at a higher frequency than others. We want you to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Navigant Credit Union is never, ever, ever going to call you and ask you for your PIN, your social security number, your account information. We are never going to do it. We're not going to text you. We're not going to email you and ask you that question. It's just never going to happen. So if you get one of those calls that looks like it's coming from Navigant Credit Union, please know that it's not. You should hang up the phone from the call and then call us at 233-4700. Tell us you got the call so we're aware of it, because that's important as well. More importantly, you can ask us if we needed anything from someone, and we can, we'll look your records up in the system, and we'll know if we've have to get any information from you. But we're not going to make those phone calls, nor are most other reasonable businesses. They're not going to call you and ask you for that kind of information, and you should never give it. Unfortunately, people get in the moment, they get excited, somebody creates this crisis that's going on, and they give their information away. So we're just asking folks again to really think about, when you answer that phone, if you can see the number where it's coming from, be very skeptical of people asking you for personal information that not everybody should have. And with that, if there's any other tips or tricks you'd like, you can get them on our website at navigantcu.org in our senior services section, which is under our community page, and you can find all Senior Safeguard in there. Or you can call us at 233-4700 and just ask the question. We're here for you.
All right, there. Thanks, Tim. Back to North Providence. The folks at Canterbury Village had their 3 o'clock curfew, 3 o'clock time limit to get out, but that was extended to 8 o'clock last night because the street was lined up, from what I see and hear, with a bunch of U-Haul trucks, which is all they could really get because the moving companies are kind of booked out. So U-Haul made a pretty good deal renting out all their trucks because, you got to leave with everything, the couch and the chair and the bed and the table. And
So does insurance,
I don't
does their
know.
homeowner's insurance cover where they're going? Where are they going to? Are they?
Well,
do
some
they
will go
find-
with family and friends for a
Okay.
little while. U-Haul's going to store their stuff for a while, but some people had no place to go.
Right.
They said North Providence was helping them out, along with the Red Cross.
Put them up for 3 nights in a
Is that
hotel
what they get?
somewhere, I think. Yeah, but then that's going to run out.
Yeah.
So they've got
So
a little bit of
then
breathing room to
where
figure
do
it
you
out.
go? Because this thing, to get fixed, it's going to be months.
So
Right.
biggest issue, I'm sorry, water flooding in the basement. So mold,
It was a pipe
mold
burst.
remediation,
Yeah.
and
I guess there's they didn't really go into specifics other than the first
If
pipe.
it is in a common area, once it all gets fixed, then the condo owners have to pay for it.
Yikes.
Right. That's the worst part about it is they're going to be an
I
assessment
think,
on
I
those
think the
folks.
term is the assessment.
Right.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Condo
All right.
fees
We got
are
it
going up.
fixed. You can move in.
No, but
Here's your bill.
his-
Yeah, the worst
$2,500
part
each.
is though
can
that's
they vote for a different management company though? I'm trying to remember. I had a condo when I first got married, and I
I
don't
guess
know
the
if
condo
you, as a
association
board,
can vote
yeah.
for a different management company if they
So
really
I'm
wanted
wondering
to.
if there's
Yeah, the owners get together. They're the ones that hire the
because they were
company, so can-
neglectful. I feel
they
like
can
there's
dump
a
them.
case to be
Yeah.
made, right?
But it sounded to me a little bit like there was one of those big conglomerates that had bought a bunch of the condos and they're more renting them than they are actually having people own
could be.
them.
Maybe.
And so
It's a
there's
company called Vista Management.
Well, that's the management company. Sometimes
Yeah.
they own buildings, sometimes they just property manage.
All right.
So a sublet situation.
Yeah,
so
so I
you're
don't-
saying owners, but then they're renting them
Right.
out. So then
Right. So you
a
wonder.
bunch of tenants. Yeah. I
Right.
don't
It's a
know.
lousy situation, but that's the danger of condo associations. So make sure you're in a good condo association if you're buying a condo.
All right. Note was called in 766-1240 on a different subject. Middle East always in chaos, always at war, and will always be at war. Is it because of religion, territory, or both? It's more territory,
It was.
I think.
I think it was simply what started out as tribal organizations back in the BC days, turned into some religion, became more religion.
Right. Now it's
Then
political.
it turned into governance, and then after the First World War, it turned into oil, and the partitioning of the Ottoman Empire, which was done with phony borders and did not properly split up the Sunni and Shia Muslims, and basically did not honor the choice of the League of Nations to commit a section of what is now Israel to the Jewish population to stay there and to have those who were spread around Europe and being discriminated against move back. And that fell apart after the League of Nations did, and Britain screwed it up. And it was still about religion. And unfortunately, after the First World War, somebody decided to put the name for the first time Palestine on it, which was never a name until after the First World War, and then they became Palestinians. There were no Palestinians before the First War. They were simply nomadic tribes of Muslims and going in and out of the whole area, and some lived there. And unfortunately, it's now into Islamic militant religious or theocracy concepts that are trying to destroy the Jewish population.
Yes, they just believe that these people should not exist.
They should not exist.
Just go.
They're right.
They're all wrong.
Well, actually, the long game for the radical Islamic fundamentalist faithful is to occupy the world as a Muslim world, and they have written plans for how they're going to infiltrate and take over every country in the world and spread their faith throughout the world. I don't know who they're going to kill after they've killed everyone else anyway. But yeah, it's, well, they don't even get along with each other in many cases. The Sunni and the Shia are not of the same faith concepts. And so it's a forever war.
Yep. Okay.
And I honestly believe that some of this is extended and fed by, I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy theorist, but Dwight Eisenhower's naming it the military-industrial complex, and it's actually the military-industrial government bureaucratic complex that does not work hard enough to find solutions and welcomes the ongoing wars around the world and our participation in them by offering supplies that the government and ultimately the taxpayers have to pay for. Every time you hear about 50 billion going to Ukraine or 10 billion going to Israel or 10 billion going to Palestine, you're talking about our tax money.
Talking real money.
Really?
When it gets up into the billions. All right.
But we don't even have a Speaker of the House.
I was going to bring that up next. They voted yesterday, and Jim Jordan got 200 votes, not the 217 he needed, and so they're going to try again this morning.
That's a waste of time. Jim Jordan will never be
We will not
Speaker.
get it.
Never?
I'm just surprised
Okay.
that there hasn't been a more moderate Republican that has risen
Well,
up.
the
gonna ask
problem
that
is,
question.
the problem, go ahead.
Tell us. No, I was going to ask that question. I didn't say the answer.
The
I was
problem,
curious.
is that Jim Jordan is a big supporter of Trump. Trump's a big supporter of Jim Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Trump cost the Republicans a large majority in the House because the candidates he backed were bad candidates in various areas, and they lost. They lost to Democrats, not to other Republicans. They primaried out the more moderate Republicans,
Right.
more standard Republicans, and so they took on the Democrats and lost because they were just bad candidates.
Right.
And Trump's name in the race lost it for the Republicans.
Yep.
Jim Jordan supports him. So that means there's a group of Republicans who have no use for Trump. And so they're never going to back Jim Jordan. Scalise probably could have done it, but then those who are big Trump supporters and will support Jim Jordan to the death will not support a more moderate candidate. So they're never going to create a majority that's going to do this
Right.
without getting some Democrats to go with them. And right now the Democrats are 100% against whoever's up there. It may be the Democrats will have to surrender to taking a moderate Republican just to shut up the radical Republicans and step on them. And it's going to be ugly.
Oof.
And
Take forever.
there are Democrats, if they put someone that's more moderate in, will have to be prepared to defend that choice when the single Republican like Gates gets up and says, I make a motion that we remove the speaker. That has to be considered, and then Democrats, instead of doing the bidding of the radical
See, that
Republicans,
guy's just nuts enough that he
need
would
to
do that
say,
every
you know,
day.
He
they're-
would.
the Democrats made the mistake of not saying, no, keep McCarthy.
Right.
Because he was willing to work with them on the continuing resolution, which,
That's-
oh, by the way, is now 20 days away.
Right. We're good. That's the problem. That's going to be the big problem. is you don't have the Speaker of the House during that whole discussion.
Well, there's an interim speaker, so I think they could
Is there an
conduct
interim?
business. Well, there's always a speaker.
Yeah,
somebody who
there's a
gets the gavel.
Speaker, not pro tem. Is it
No,
pro tem?
I don't know. There's a title for it,
Yeah.
but it's they. I don't know whether they could or couldn't conduct business, but I think if it was a continuing resolution that came to them from the Senate, they might be able to take action. But the fact is, Jim Jordan will never be the speaker.
Have the
And-
Democrats put anybody forward?
Yeah, Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffries.
and Jeffries.
They
Yeah,
they
please.
they've
reason.
elected him. They've voted
not
for him
just-
the
Every
last
time.
few
Just
times.
put,
okay.
put AOC up too. That's just as much chance.
Yeah.
So, okay.
right.
Yeah, no, that's not. Jeffries is a whack job too.
All right.
Except he's a whack job on the
On the
other
other
side.
side. Oh, okay.
You know, he is such a hyper partisan person.
Yeah.
That,
By the way-
you know, the minute he opens his mouth, the first two words coming out of his mouth are "Republicans evil."
All
Right.
He's
So,
a nasty person.
What's interesting is the whole one member of Congress can request a vote to remove the
That's
Speaker of the House,
that's-
right?
That's the Republicans' rules. That's
Right,
not
that
the
they
law.
created when
Yes.
McCarthy became Speaker.
Yes.
Right, because that's the
was the
give
setup.
back he gave to the Getz crew. Was all right, fine. You guys can have that, but I want to be Speaker. And then he became Speaker, and they used it against him. And now they
Again,
can't change the rules.
The problem is when you get into that scenario, wouldn't have taken many, if a few Democrats had simply said no,
Right.
it wouldn't have happened. McCarthy would still be Speaker.
But I think the Democrats look at this
So-
and say, let's watch the Republicans
I think-
implode.
right,
Yeah.
that's what it was. This is all part of setting up for the next election to say, let's let these guys act stupid out in the public's view, and next year it'll help us in the election.
And the people who are the very hard right extremists, and you could say this about the left extremists as well, they're just so ingrained in their districts that they're never going to get unelected.
Correct, and that's
So they'll keep going back, and you continue the cycle of having these bad
Yes.
players in
There was-
Congress
there was a large-
on both sides.
There was a large swath of this country that was purple,
Right.
so to speak, and it has now become clearly divided into bright red, bright blue in certain areas,
Right.
and people like Gates is in an area where he is in a high percentage Republican district that will support him, no matter what he does, practically,
Right.
including shooting somebody in the middle of Times Square.
Did all of those accusations just go away about him, by the way? Because I feel like that surfaced, a year ago, all the accusations, him
Oh.
getting involved in relationships with underage girls and
Yeah,
et cetera.
I don't know
And I
whether
feel
these
like it
things
just
have
did
gone
just
away.
kind of
went
go away.
away.
Yeah, it's kind
Sometimes
of
they go
blew
before the
over.
ethics commission and get bogged down in the bureaucracy of
Yeah.
their ethics committee. So it could be they're still working that issue. It's not like he's.
Just bury
it's
the
not
Look
topic.
at Melissa pulling stuff like that out of a political box.
know,
She
that's-
knows.
that's
She's
right.
not-
It's
I
not
wouldn't
like he's
feel for that
Senator
guy.
Gold. It's not like he's Senator Goldbars who jumped out of the frying pan into the fire and made things worse for himself.
Senator Gold Bars. I love it.
All right.
Goldfinger.
Time for a break and time for a second message from Navigant Credit Union. Tim.
So, Joe, we have a variety of checking accounts at the credit union. I know people are looking for everybody's kind of out there sort of shopping for the right account for them. But just suffice to know that Navigant Credit Union has a variety of accounts that'll fit your needs. Everything from basic checking accounts that you won't have any service fees on if you keep minimum balances, or if you're 50 years old or 55 years old, I think it is, you don't have to pay a monthly service charge for that account. It's simply a transactional account. You just use it whenever you want to use it. It's great. But then we have some of the specialty accounts too, like our Embark account, which is our youth account. We've talked about that, which is really designed to help young people learn how to manage their money. It is what we would consider a spending account. It's designed so that it can be attached to a debit card, and the student who's 13 to 22 years old can have that debit card and can customize it too if they'd like. But they can they will learn valuable lessons, like you have to have money in your account if you're going to use your debit card. Right? That's always an interesting one.
That's
people,
number one.
People think, when I get this plastic, I can use this at a store. I'm just going to go buy my Xbox with this. But if you don't have the money for the Xbox in your account, you're not going to be able to do it. So think of how embarrassing that is for them when they get to the counter and they get declined. But it's a lesson that they learn early on about trying to make sure you're managing your money correctly. So Embark account does that, has some great other features, online banking, mobile banking. debit card access. We'll never let them overdraw their account because it'll be declined, and so there's no overdraft fees or anything like that to go along with it. So it's a great basic account for a young person. So if you're looking to learn more about that account, or you want to open one, you can open one online, navigantcu.org, or stop into the branch up here in Woonsocket and see Christian and the team, and they'll set you right up, answer any questions you have.
All right, there, Tim. Thanks. More of the Coffee and program is coming up. Stay tuned.
Since 1948, their motto has been to give every customer the very best in quality service, as well as attention to detail. And that promise continues today at Michaud's Auto Body, a modern 5-stall facility with the latest in technology. Whenever you have time, please check their website at MichaudAutoBody.com and take a short video tour of their modern facility. It's very interesting. Michaud's Auto Body on Privilege Street, Woonsocket, a second-generation family business. 769-1983.
Hi, this is Kathy LaValle. The Honey Shop and Champs Diner are sponsoring a charity event to benefit Missy's Holiday Fund. Every year, family and friends of Missy's Family Restaurant come together to cook a delicious Thanksgiving dinner for our local veterans, homeless, and anyone in need of an amazing meal and companionship. To help us fund this project, we're inviting you to an epic showdown of flavors at our chili cook-off. The chili cook-off is on Saturday, October 28th from 2 to 4 at Champs Diner, 719 Front Street in Woonsocket. We are seeking 10 talented contestants to showcase their best chili recipes. Whether you concoct a spicy masterpiece or a savory delight, this is your chance to vie for the title of Chili Champion. We also invite you to indulge in the ultimate chili dog created by me, Kathy LaValle, from the Honey Shop. Tickets are $15 to enter as a contestant or to join in the fun and have lunch. See you at the Chili Cook-Off on Saturday, October 28th from 2 o'clock to 4.
Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Tim Draper, Melissa Smith, and John Ward. Note has come in, 766-1240.
Lots of notes this morning.
The Rhode Island Comprehensive Assessment System, or RICAS. Woonsocket Middle School has the lowest rate of improvement in English and math. Is it the teachers, the students, the parents, or society?
Or is it an improvement?
Still.
See, that's the thing. We
I don't
focus
know.
on the
This
fact
says
that it's not...
lowest rate of
Okay,
improvement.
that's all right. It's an improvement, is it not? We're trying. We're making some progress.
Okay.
So I don't think you should just necessarily
Dismiss it?
classify the whole thing as horrible. They're not where they want to be, right? Nobody is. It's going to take a long time. Society's part of the problem. I'm sure that the systems that are in place to educate those students are part of the problem. There's a million problems.
Yeah.
We've made progress. We've increased a little bit. Isn't that okay?
I guess Tim is saying, regarding this reading and math thing, that he just doesn't understand and it doesn't add up.
I am not saying that at all, Joe.
I think that
You're right.
first of all, that was really funny.
Hey, don't take his side.
I mentioned that I'm on this school improvement committee in the town of North Smithfield, and the discussion largely is about absenteeism, and the focus is always on these scores, and everything comes back to how the state is evaluating kids in school today, and it's just always about a measure and how it reflects the school system. But I have to agree that absenteeism, especially since COVID, and even in the years sort of, let's say, since COVID's been over, but it's still not really over, that has been really a driving force. Kids are out of school for 4 or 5 days, possibly longer, depending on their symptoms regarding COVID, more so than ever. Or parents are more willing to say, stay home just in case you have it, whatever it is, but you're missing school, you're falling behind, and I think it's just still catching up for all that time period as well. And it's just trickle. Back in the days they were homeschooled or teaching themselves from home virtually. I just think that my kids especially, they're doing well, but there's still that little catch-up period that I'm looking at.
Is this more of an issue of a reaction to the wellness of the student, or is it students in the old days, we used to call it bunking, just didn't feel like going to school, so I'm just going to skip school.
And
because parents
nailed
aren't
it.
home to supervise whether they go to school or not, you're finding that those kids are going, hey, I can get away with this. This is great. I'm
I
just
think
not
the
going to go.
first comment that you made is what's been the center of our conversations. You know, I've shared that I've got 2 overachiever type kids who just strive for the best in grades and everything they do, and they have a lot of friends that are similar in that way. and talking to their parents and how often these kids are missing school because they're just overwhelmed, and they need a break. They need a mental health day. They just need to be able to, they're up until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock every night studying. The next day, they just are sluggish, can't get out of bed. Parents are letting them stay home. If you don't have a driving force like sports pulling you in, because if you don't go to school, you can't play in a game, I think that's where they're really tracking that pocket of kids who are just, needing more of that mental health support and those little timeout moments because, again, resulting largely, I think, since COVID. Just feeling like there's a lot of pressure on the teachers to push the kids to get back to where they were, and it's just all coming back to bite right now.
That sounds to me like there's a need to reevaluate how we deliver school. And there was a time back when, now that they're building all the new schools with air conditioning and such, that it becomes a year-round kind of concept, that some had suggested, 52 weeks, I forget exactly the number, where you split it into 4 periods, and you have, like 9 weeks, and then 2 weeks off, and then 9 more weeks, and then whatever the number that
It's actually the way WPI does it. They do terms.
They just go four cycles a year with 2 or 3 weeks in between each cycle, and it gives you that break.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It would play havoc with sports. It would play havoc with everything else, and it would require a major cultural adaptation to something different.
Right.
And that's not something that
We're good at.
does well. Keep in mind, schools are run by government.
Right. You got working parents. You have, so when you talk about that idea.
No, you got teachers unions.
And that too.
I'm not
And
gonna
that
work that
too.
way.
But I mean, it works well for those kids that can come home and be alone and left alone. It doesn't work well for the kids that are going to need daycare in those weird pockets. But in surveying my kids and their friends, one thing that they really loved about, the COVID period and working from home, and even when they were transitioning back a couple days in, a couple days out, so the schools could declean. I mean, you forget, we did all these weird measures for a while. They have said it consistently. If we could just have off Wednesday, work from home Wednesday. It's like go in for 2 days, that sluggish, out of bed, push yourself to get through. But Wednesday, be remote. Let me just be remote one day where I can sit in my bed in my pajamas with my laptop, still doing the work, still getting it done, but just have that comfort of a little time out. And I know it's not realistic in terms of what we want them to achieve when they go off to college someday or in the working world. It's that coddling mentality I think that a lot of us have, but it's a balance, I think, for pushing these kids as fast. We're pushing them hard in a lot of ways.
Weren't you pushed hard? Wasn't I
I
pushed
was.
hard?
I look at this very differently. We weren't approached with AP classes in high school and the pressure of taking those classes. You
was.
were?
I
I had
not.
one. There was only one
wasn't.
introduced to me in high school, and that was it.
They didn't have AP classes. I was in an advanced program for math where the summer before I started at Mount, I was actually in algebra class that summer. Yeah. And then I had 2 math classes in my junior year, and I was in calculus in my senior year. So I was actually running 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 math program classes while I was in high school. So they had programs like that, but I'm still trying to. I think more of the stress comes from, I hate to say it, it comes from the pressure that's self-inflicted by
Social
students
media.
who participate in social media.
I would agree.
That's a big contributor.
And just,
Huge.
They destroy each other.
Right.
And they
Cyberbullying
look
is
for
unbelievable.
things, and they discuss things that would have never been considered.
No, the social
Topics that-
awareness
And the parents
of other
have
stuff.
zero way of monitoring that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and they don't. And it's
And when parents want to get involved, you get government agencies and attorneys that go, no, you can't. That's it's privacy.
and they're
of a child."
dealing with social issues in school that to me have nothing to do with education. They have to do with your personal religious beliefs and your beliefs to your parents and how you raised family and how you interact with each other as a family, not as you interact necessarily socially with any obligations.
Yeah.
Let's just stick to, as you say, the reading, learning the language, learning how math works, learning how science works, learning about geography and physically how things are made up, and then maybe learning about history. I won't dispute the fact that much history is slanted to one side. Okay, open it up, make it a more open-ended history. Learn literature, learn classical literature, not necessarily these little books that everybody's writing today, but when you start throwing away some of the best literature around because you're offended by it, I'm sorry.
It just seems there's so much test-driven pressure with, okay, the state testing, and if you're in high school, PSATs, SATs, and now, at least in our school
took 'em.
system, the elimination
Yeah,
of
it's a good
honors
thing.
classes. So you've got CP and then you have APs, but the smaller schools who don't have the capacity to afford like 3 tiers of classes are
those-
giving you one or the other, and it's all
That's
about
that-
the AP test then. So it's not about learning at the same pace as other kids to absorb as you
Mm-hmm.
go. You're just learning to pass a test on a college level and maybe get credits, which are really irrelevant to a lot of these kids. But
Those aren't the kids that are causing the scores to go lower.
no, but some of them are because the mental health thing. I'm going back to Tim's comment. Like there's that. It's the full circle. Those are the kids that are in counseling and they're struggling and they need those timeout moments because they can't. Their brains can't handle it all because of the social stuff on top of this. Like it's just a lot of stuff piled up.
I think
on
there's a
these-
lot. There's definitely a lot more social pressure now than there was when we were.
When
in
my
school.
kid was in the middle
Definitely.
school, he'd come home and he'd say, "Yeah, I saw there were fights going on in the halls. When I turned the corner, I'd see a fight. I'd go the other way."
But the problem is those kids that
same
are-
kids are the ones that grow up and don't really get a good education, and well, some of them don't, but some of them do, and they don't get a good education. And so, like I've heard so many said recently, is that they're chronically unemployed. Well, yeah, because they don't feel like getting out of bed, and when they call the boss and tell them they're sick, and the boss gives them some lip, they quit. It's like they don't need a job.
Right.
Because
now is the boss even giving them lip? Because I feel like bosses are just so at the mercy now of employees,
employees,
that
right.
you're
And-
just.
And why could
it's so
somebody just feel
twisted.
like they can quit at any moment? Because they believe it's the government's responsibility to take care of them. And I will still go back to 90% of our problems in society are a combination of social media and the war on poverty, which is a pitiful failure.
We're a mess.
Well,
This
on
is
that,
We're a
uh,
hot
It's a
mess.
very depressing show
on
today.
that note, we gotta go.
Oh no! We just
Now that
got
we're
here.
now that we're mired in
gosh.
this
Not even
malaise
time for like
here.
an uplifting
No,
something, huh, Joe?
All
No,
these
nothing like
problems
that.
and no solutions.
No, none whatsoever. So maybe next week we'll get to,
Let's
we'll
shoot
get
for
to
next week.
solutions.
That's right. That's
All right, Tim Draper, thanks for coming in today.
Joe, thanks for having me. Have a great week, everyone.
All right, and Melissa Smith, thanks for making it in.
Good to see everybody. Thank you.
All right, and John Ward, thanks for coming in.
The weather's getting awful, but go out and enjoy the God-given day in any case.
All right, this is Joe Callahan. Thanks for listening in. Stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do your members at 9:30 here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
Data from the State Health Department shows C-section births are rising fast in Rhode Island, and it could be putting mothers at unnecessary risk. 1 in 3 Rhode Island babies were born by cesarean in 2022, many of them among first-time moms considered low risk. Health officials want to bring down the number of low-risk C-sections from about 30% to an ideal 20%. While there are plenty of good reasons to opt into a C-section, they do carry a higher risk of infection or worse, which has